Hi, I'm Kate.
And I'm Mandy, and this is Love Sober,
the podcast for the sober and sober curious.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Love Sober podcast for the sober and sober curious. And this week it's me, Mandy, and I am interviewing a good old friend who I haven't seen for a while, Bumni, who is known as the food addiction coach. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about her sobriety journey, but also her work now, which is, really, really important area of this conversation. Mandy. So we always start with a check-in. So how are you doing?
I'm very, very good. Thanks, Mandy, for inviting me on your podcast. I'm really excited.
Oh, my pleasure. And so you're based in London, right?
Yeah, I'm based in good old Crystal Palace, London, and loving it at the moment, especially with the pandemic. It's just so nice I live in the triangle bit, so everything is just so close, especially with the petrol thing going on, and just nice to be in a lovely safe space.
Nice. So we always start a little bit with your alcohol, your journey, to be alcohol free. So what brought you to the decision to go alcohol free?
For me, it was bad. I mean, it wasn't, I wasn't a high bottom at all. I was low bottom. I was in and out for several years out of rehabs, not being able to stop or, binge drink for a few months, and then I'd start again. And it just got to the place where I nearly basically kind of lost everything. My profession, my family, everything, was about to go. And I remember going into the last rehab and couldn't walk, really. That wasn't my primary motivator. I think the primary motivator was, I just didn't want to die. And I need to get this right this time. So for me, it was 28 days in the rehab and coming out, and I was saying, right, okay, what do I do this time round? I was desperate. So for a while I went to AA. I went to AA for a little while. And that really basically, saved my life at the beginning. But I knew that I needed to do something more, that my recovery wasn't just in AA. It was more, what do I need to do to keep myself well and happy? And the ultimate thing was, I just wanted to be happy. And I never felt happy. I always felt like I was in a high state of alert all the time. I was anxious. So I didn't want to be sober and still feel like that. So something just pulled me into holistic remedies. So I'm a retired dental surgeon, very scientific. And I had one lady say to me, do you fancy, something more holistic? And I kind of, at the beginning, I just went, oh, rubbish, But, I didn't want to go on things like antidepressants, which my doctor suggested. I didn't want to go down that route because I knew, again, I'm going to become hooked on it. It's not what I want. So she'd go and see a shaman friend of mine. And I kind of chuckled a bit. I said, oh, well, I'll do anything, literally. So I went to see Anna, we're good friends. She just messaged me, actually. I went to see Anna, and she, she did all her shamanic work on me that first session. At that time, I was going through a court case for drink driving. Divorce papers had been served on me. Everything was up in the air. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to try this. And I came out on the first session thinking, I feel a bit different. And I felt safe, a little bit safe. So I went back to see her in a few more sessions. And I thought, there's something in this, because I actually feel I can get through anything. I can get through it. I feel supported. I feel like I felt optimistic, despite what was going on all around me. I felt like this calm in the storm. So something led me to, I need to find out what is going on with me and why this is working. And so, I got really greedy about holistic stuff. So it was like the Reiki. I became a Reiki master. I looked into crystals, because she used crystals on me. And that's why I'm an absolute crystal fanatic today. That was another lovely holistic addition to my toolkit, wellbeing toolkit. So it was crystals, it was Reiki, it was spiritual response. I was just NLP. I was doing all of it just to work out what will help me and empower me. I wanted to go through life feeling that I am enough. I don't feel like I need to always look outside to help me in many ways. That my inner journey was what was important. It was an inside job, and I thought, this is amazing. So for a few years, that was what I was doing, and helping other clients. And then for me, it just flowered into becoming a recovery coach, helping other professionals around me, other doctors, dentists who were struggling. So that was my journey. 2017. So I became a recovery coach. Absolutely love it. And so that was my kind of this is my plan to get out of dentistry and do something I really love. Dentistry, very grateful for it. I did it for 35 years, but it wasn't my passion.
Yeah.
I always sort of kind of did what I was told. So, my dad said, I want a doctor in the family. And I didn't want to be a doctor, but dentist was a good compromise. But I never wanted to do those things. But grateful for it. But I always knew that I wanted to help people in another way. And this obviously was a blessing in disguise. What happened to me in my journey had helped other people. So I went on to becoming a recovery coach. Loved doing that part-time. Then a lot of people were coming to me with food. Now, this is something that happened in my recovery journey. Recovering from alcohol. I'm now 14 years sober.
Well done.
But I know, it's great. But I noticed very quickly. I didn't notice very quickly actually. But what happened was I kind of tripped into food. So it was the cross addiction. I know you're doing addictive behaviours, and it was. I'm kind of obsessing about certain foods, and I have to have it, and I have to have all of it, and I have to go back out there and buy some more of that if it's not in the house. And it slowly kind of snowballed into, oh my gosh, I'm feeling exactly how I felt before, binge eating. So let me just switch that off. Excuse me.
That's okay.
So sorry. That's off. Binge eating. It was just like everything was overriding. It's a predominant thought. I have to have my trigger food. I have to have my packet of biscuits. I have to have this. And it started to dominate my day. It was no overriding obsessive thought. I was stopping various things so I could just sit and have that. I was hiding again because I was a bit of a secret drinker. So I was hiding food. I didn't want my kids to see me snaffling stuff, so it would be in my bedroom. So that furtiveness was back, that kind of isolate, let me just, and it was interesting because I knew I was going back into those old patterns of isolating again. And I just knew very quickly that this is very, very similar to the alcohol dependency. So I just employed those principles again. Then I just wanted to look into the science of it all and why is it happening? And the neuroscience for me explained everything, absolutely everything. I knew I wasn't weak-willed, I wasn't lazy, I wasn't greedy or anything like that. It was a brain, it was the anatomy, it was the reward system going into overdrive. And I have an addictive personality. People were coming to me about food, and it really kind of hit me that this is something that is kind of not really talked about as much. We talk about eating disorders and anorexia and whatever, but I knew that this was addictive eating because the behaviors were the same. I always say if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, flies like a duck, it's a duck. This felt the same to me. I knew there was no difference between my alcohol and my food. So for me, I stood strong with food addiction. This is what I was suffering from. People were coming with similar symptoms to what I had. So I was helping them with kind of the method that I help myself, a very holistic way of recovery. And so that's where it snowballed. And then I just thought, there is so many people out there. We're hearing it on the news. So I thought I'm just going to go all in and just specialize in addictive eating, food addiction, and get to understand the mechanism behind it and how I can create something that is simple and straightforward that can help a client. So I developed the R4 method, which is relationship, reframe, resilience, recovery. So I developed those strategies for clients, and today it's just huge. And I'm just passionate about getting out there and helping the NHS, which has got it's had about 1 million reporting that they want help around weight issues,
right,
obesity and disordered eating. So I want to hit schools, education, that kind of thing. So yeah, really, really passionate.
Yeah, and I mean, I think because one of the difficulties around this area, I guess, is is the abstinence model doesn't work, right? With alcohol, you can take it out of your life. Food, we need sustenance to live. So how did you adapt the process, I suppose?
I adapt the process by really taking out those we call trigger foods.
Right.
So it's the trigger foods. It wasn't food in general. It was the kind of the ultra processed food that hit me. It's the ones with the combination of high fat, sugars and carbohydrates, the highly palatable processed foods. Those were the ones that always triggered me. And I knew the chemicals in it, the emulsifiers in it, and all the other ingredients, which isn't food really. I had to remove. So in a way, there was an abstinence from ultra processed foods,
right?
And it was replacing that with more whole foods. So there was no abstinence, there was no restriction. It was just removing those things that triggered that phenomenon of craving, as we talked about.
Yeah, got it.
But everybody's different, so one size doesn't fit all. Some clients will come to me and they want to try and phase it out gradually. And that is really, really good. I was a high bottom, so I think I could do it quite quickly. But many people have been, used to kind of eating those particular products year in, year out. So it's a case of, gradually reducing those from their lifestyle.
So I wanted to go back into your story a little bit in terms of shamanic work, because people might not know what that was, or what is it and what did you do, because I'm a bit intrigued myself. I hear like shaman work.
I think shamanic work is just employing all the kind of the elements, isn't it? The kind of the 4 elements: air, fire, water, earth. And we're all part of that, we're all connected. And being able to energetically clear. I really do feel that from an energetic level, we need to be sort of cleared, cleansed. So it's not just your 2-dimensional stop drinking. I knew I had to have a clearing, feel energetically better, fitter, and employing energy medicine routines, things like tapping or breath work, all that. Crystals are really great to clear energies as well, clear chakra points. So it's clearing the chakras, the 7 chakras. But also mind-body connection could be through yoga, just simple breath work, meditation, mindfulness, walking meditations. All of those things are very, very good for anyone who's in recovery. It's kind of the opposite addiction, it's connection. So it's connecting with life around us, connecting with the earth, grounding, getting your shoes off, going for a walk in the park. All of those things just really help center us and ground us, because we are disconnected when we're going through it. We're isolated. We're not connected to anybody. That's why fellowships works as well, because there's fellowship, isn't there? But it's connection. It's connection with nature. It's connection with other people. So shamanic work is all about just bringing you back into balance. So all those sessions that I had with Anna were about bringing me back into balance, and then I could carry on doing the things that I did to maintain that. And it's self-care as well. It's again, opposite of what we do is self-loathing when we're drinking. It's self-care and radical self-care. She Recovers, for instance, which you're part of. It's all about, and that's why I love that. I love being part of it, is because it's all about self-care. And that's the healer, really, self-love.
Yes, that's the journey, isn't it? It's not always easy, but I love that, that was the, I hadn't really thought about that kind of the element of cleanse and the element of just making space, I suppose, in your own internal dialogue to be able to access self-love. Because, certainly a lot of women in our community, there's a lot of shame. So yeah, the ways to sort of clear that out and be able to just, arrive with yourself. Yeah.
But it's just having those little rituals. So it's kind of ritualistic, isn't it? And again, like with, drinking, that there was rituals around drinking. And it's employing positive rituals now that reinforce what we want. So having that time, having your lovely bath and, your detox bath, all of those things. I never did any of those things at all when I was drinking. Never. I'd be lucky if I, just got out of bed and made my bed. And, for me, it was all about, bringing all that into my life, because ultimately I just want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel happy with myself. So all this had to come into play, but it was all bit by bit and gradual, and little rituals in the day, and that's all. It kind of joins the dots, doesn't it, to freedom from alcohol. It's another day feeling really good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea of, the ritual side of it and replacing rituals. I mean, that's what Janie Lee Grace always says, doesn't she? She says, keep the ritual, change the ingredient, essentially,
Exactly.
which can be so powerful. It's like, you don't have to miss out on anything. You're just doing things in a different way that's going to support you and not self-harm. So tell us a little bit about your rituals. So what's your self-care practices that keep you well?
It's quite it's a little bit more lengthy than it was, but I also find that if I feel unsettled, I do more of it. So I think that's just getting it out there to anybody who feels like they're unsettled or they feel unease, not feeling a bit nervous, whatever. Just do more of what you're doing. So at the moment, because I've got so much on, I'm doing quite a lot of meditating in the morning. So I do like a mindfulness meditation, probably 20 minutes in the morning, using a crystal. At the moment, it's amethyst, which is just for peace and focus. I kind of do a mantra to Ganesh, which is about clearing obstacles. I've got my beads, so 108 times I have this mantra. So I'm sort of doing that, just clearing the way. And then what else do I do? I sort of tapping, so I do energy medicine routine. That's a Donna Eden method. Anybody looks up Donna Eden, she does a 5 minutes energy medicine routine. She's absolutely amazing. She's world renowned, but it's like energy medicine technique, which kind of gets all your meridians and your circuits, energy circuits, radiant circuits running nicely. So I sort of do a 5 minute thing of that, kind of a little prayer. But I will, do that, and then write gratitude as well. So it's a gratitude list. I kind of write down how I'd like my day to be. And that's again 5 minutes. How I'd like my day to be, what my goals are, gratitude. But at the end of the day, I'll do like that kind of, what was the synchronicity. I expect synchronicity now, so I'll look for what was, I call them little miracles. So I write those down, and then I do another kind of thank you for the day. Thank you for keeping me well at the end of the day, and then that's it.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
yeah. And people might go, oh gosh, that's lengthy, but honestly, it's just pays dividends. Honestly, your day feels a lot smoother. You don't feel anything that's stressful in the day that comes up. You don't feel because what it does is it kind of slows your reward brain down, and it brings the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain. So anything that comes up unexpectedly, you're going to engage more of your thinking, decision-making brain better than the reactive, impulsive, and then let's drink on it kind of brain. So
yeah, you know, and I mean, I know you had sort of burnout was part of your journey as well as mine, and you know, I remember sort of when the first therapist I went to see, you know, after all the tears, she was just like, right, I want you to take 2 hours for yourself a week. And I was just like, this is not possible, like, don't be ridiculous, you know. It's like 2 hours is never gonna happen. It's never, you know, I got really angry. I was like, you can't ask me that, it's never gonna happen. But you know, I spent an hour drinking a bottle of wine every night, so I had time, but it was just like what I was doing with my time. And so I think, yeah, you and just sort of peppering your day, these little minutes, doesn't have to be all in one go. It's just like taking a cup of tea, going out in the garden, you know, and just allowing your nervous system to regulate, and then just taking a moment. All those little things are going to get you through the day, so you don't arrive at like 6 o'clock and have that trigger.
Absolutely burnt out. Yeah. And that's what's happening in society at the moment. It's just like, you know, it's wired.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I call it a self-soothing society, because you know, the brains are now reward system. It's whether it's shopping, whether it's alcohol, whether it's gaming. So the whole sort of our society is on a high state of alert. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's the addictive reward pathways that are alert, and that's the dominant part of the brain anyway. You know, so yeah, we need to just take time. Take time. And funny enough, when you do take time, because as you were talking about burnout, you know, for me it was like I had to get everything done, fill up my list, and if I hadn't, I felt like a failure at the end of the day. You know, proper, you know, full on ridiculous. If you'd have seen my list then, it would have been. But now I get as much done, if not more, and I've slowed down. It's weird. I can't quite understand that, but I actually get more than I have more than enough time to get my work done.
Well, that's what I mean, living in France, that's what, you know, I mean, they have I mean, it's controversial. I mean, they have a ban on working more than 35 hours a week. So, you know, but they're extremely like efficient, effective country. They still get everything done. They just make sure that people are not overworked. I mean, it doesn't work very well economy wise, but you know, in terms of well-being, then and holidays, they are protected holidays.
Very good.
Yeah, which is something definitely attracted me to moving here. It's just like, yeah, we actually get time, like time with family, time, you know, kids have half day on a Wednesday, you know, but the working world is arranged around that, you know.
How it should be. I think is that how it should be. I think Britain's got it the wrong way around.
Yeah, it's just, and I mean, then you look at the US, right? And it's even worse. I mean, you know, some people get 1 week of holiday a year. It's I mean, that's why we created the course, the Addictive Behaviors Coaching course, because we are in this dopamine, you know, drenched society where it's popping out all over this, and it's everyone's, you know, thing. It's and I love how you're saying a self-soothing society, because that's it. It's just like we're all trying to cope. There's no shame in it. And also we're getting it fed to us. I mean, especially on the food side. This is
why I kind of really want to get into, you know, schools. With this. Not enough has been done at that level at all. I think they're trying to do, you know, a bit of mindfulness, but like, you know, let's have a full-on curriculum with including, you know, lifestyle, including, you know, well-being. You know, this is part of the curriculum, not just like a little add-on. That these should be lessons on, you know, and doing a nice meditation space or whatever. Because we've got a generation who are all wired already. You know, in my time growing up, I didn't have the mobile phone. I didn't have any of that instant gratification. But our children are growing up with it. And that's what, and especially with the food as well. You've got that on top of, you know, eating, you know, ultra processed foods. So we're on a hiding to nothing if we're not careful.
So tell us a little bit about your new book and the training course. You know, so all the things.
Well, the training course is based the training course I developed a few years, beta tested it, and now it's kind of, I've properly launched it, and it's called the Food Addiction Coach Accelerator program, and it's for health professionals, health and fitness pros. I've got teachers on the course now, nurses, but it's for anybody who wants to help their clients, help them with their eating behaviours. So, and that's pivotal if someone, for instance, a fitness professional is putting somebody through a nice health program and they keep self-sabotaging their goals with food, then they're going to have some idea of how to help the clients with confidence. And it's not for eating disorder, so let me just get that straight. I'm not dealing with anorexia, bulimia. These are all proper therapist needs, but we're talking about compulsive eating, overeating, and food addiction. So it's just helping people help their clients from self-sabotaging. I'm going to be doing a B2C later on in the year. That's coming out later on in the year, just before Christmas. Maybe it could be January, I don't know. But it's, again, it's based on the R4 method, which, as I said, was relationship to food. What's the relationship to food? Reframing the client's relationship around food. Resilience, so the coping strategies, craving control strategies, etc. What's it, food planning, that kind of thing. Resilience things. Again, it's the mindfulness in there. And then the last one is recovery, which is, let's get you started. Let's create a safe home. Let's get it moving. See how it goes. It's not a diet. It's not a weight loss thing. The weight is the last thing that's going to happen. It's getting that person centered now into what is their relationship, feeling comfortable with themselves. It's an inside job, as you know, Amanda.
Yeah.
All of that before anything else can happen. And the weight will, if there's a weight issue, then fine. But not everybody with food addiction actually has a weight problem. This could be somebody who's underweight. They were saying something like 50% who are struggling with obesity have signs of food addiction. 30% who are overweight have food addiction, and I think 20% are underweight or overweight. So it's about the eating behaviour. It's about what's happening to you, the mental impact of it, as well as the physical impact.
Yeah, I mean, I know I worked at a treatment centre not so long ago, and I know that they've got a huge rise in terms of clean eating, strict, rules around food. So on the other side of it's that overeating or under or control. It's the relationship, right? Of
Exactly.
I can't possibly have a carb, for example, or whatever. And it's great that you made that kind of clarification, because again, the program that we're running is, there's recovery coaching, there's working in treatment, there's the dependent person that needs a team around, and psychological and psychiatric support, detox, all those things. And then there's the person that is coping, using a coping strategy, using it and the more that we can grab hold of those people, and I'm sure it's the same for you earlier on, the less likely they're gonna develop those really problematic things. That's like right. Bulimia and anorexia.
That's why I want to get it into schools, because I was listening the other day to something on the news, and the teacher was saying she's not even referring any of her kids anymore to mental health because the waiting list is so long. But she's saying that her fear is that they're going to go from a mental health problem to a full-blown eating disorder. It was around food, and it was like, if we can only get some teachers to say, take my course, which one teacher has, and she just says she's running it through her school. She's just finished. Because at least it's holding that space for the child, so it doesn't become a full-blown eating disorder. And we might actually, because of awareness and education and everything else and simple strategies, that could be all that's needed. And detoxing from social media, for instance, and boundary setting and all of that,
Yeah.
and body image. That it might be that big case of, it might save that person from going into a full-blown eating disorder and still having to wait for treatment. So for me, it is getting the preventive, the education and the awareness at a younger age. And that's where I actually really am passionate.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Well done, and thank you, because it's such important work.
And the book is called, we've got the book, we've finally got the and I've put a vote to it in my Facebook group, and it's called Craving Freedom.
Oh, love it. So good.
Craving Freedom, the R4 method to overcoming food addiction. And it's just basically on the R4 method and where it can go in the NHS, education, to the public. So it's all about really the R4 method and where it can go on my vision, really. I want an army of food addiction coaches, army the facts to go out there and just help, because we just need it. We need the coaches in schools, we need it in hospitals, we need them everywhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a difficult one because this comes up quite a lot in in sober forums, because there is, like, if you're looking at alcohol, there is that kind of the sugar drop, when people stop, and so people do tend to replace with sugar, and there is that kind of like, it's kind of harm reduction in the short term, right? It's like, well, okay, there is that metabiological thing going on, that you need sugar, or you're sugar deficient because you're not drinking wine, for example, and also you're not drinking, so it's like, why not have some M&Ms on a Friday night? I guess, like, what's the signs to look out for when you think maybe that now is becoming a cross addiction, and maybe that, what can people, I guess, how can they tell?
Well, it's like alcohol, isn't it? It's that craving again. It's the craving, it's the obsessing about it, and you've got to have it no matter what. Those are the signs, and it's repeated and it's daily. If it's once a week, twice a week, okay, that's fine. But when it's, I have to have this now, it's my overriding thought. And I've got a packet there, but can I have one or two of M&Ms? No, I've got to have a whole packet, which you would have, because that's what it's designed to do, isn't it? So when it becomes like uncomfortable, it's like, this is, people will know, especially when they're coming through, recovering from alcohol.
That's a really interesting thing to say, isn't it? It's like, people know, because that's the same with alcohol. It's like,
Well, I've got to correct myself there, actually, because the brain is good at denial, isn't it? So we could easily kind of go, oh well, it's just for now, and it's not that bad, and it's not alcohol, it's sweets, or it's the donut or the cake or the pizza. So we can go into that probably bit of denial again with that, until you finally, oh my gosh. But if it's got to the point where you are craving for it, then easily, and because we have got addictive personalities, I think we always have to be aware of that, whatever we're doing. I can addict easily with work, or silly things like buying a magazine and there's an article, and then I used to go and find other magazines that maybe had the same person talking about something, and I wanted to see if it was a different slant. It was that ridiculous. And I'd buy tons and tons of magazines to find, again, it was, what's going on there with me? That's nothing to do with, it's your personality. So I'm constantly aware of that, and I do find it funny sometimes now, because it's just little things that I do.
And again, it's that sort of like taking a compassionate look, isn't it? It's just like, okay, what's going on, sweetheart? Like, why are you now bought like 15 books and you haven't read any of them yet? Or certainly work I think is like a big thing for a lot of people, especially when you kind of then finally you're working in something you're passionate about. So it's like double whammy, isn't it? It's just like, okay, but I must because I want to. So you've got that double dopamine hit, you know. Kate and
again, I could easily just like immerse myself and dive in and go down the rabbit hole with what I do. But I know I still have to really look after myself.
Yeah. Kate and I are we're both pretty burnt out at the moment, and we've been talking about it a lot of just like, okay, you know, how do we just reel it in, you know, take a breath. And again, it's like when you're looking at the brain, it's like our brain needs time, needs rest. You know, that's when the good ideas are generated, not when we're in burnout and like, you know, doing 20,000 things. It's when we're settled and still.
That's it. Totally. More's done that way than the other way.
So if people, you know, are listening to this and they're thinking, oh, this might be something I, you know, is resonating with me, how can they work with you, or how can they get in touch?
If you just look on www.thefoodaddictioncoach.co.uk and you'll find me there, and any program you want to jump on, that's great. If you want to work with me, if you're having issues around food, then you know you can contact me through my email, which is on there as well, and take it from there. So there's lots of information on there.
And I guess sort of first steps, I guess, you know, what would you suggest if people need to test this out a little bit? What would you suggest to maybe, I don't know, perhaps try and stop the behavior? What are first steps?
First steps is be aware of it. Be aware. As I said, we can go into denial, but you know, after this podcast, everybody's been listening to it and they thought, oh, that is me. Actually, I've been thinking that's not too bad. Then just try, you know, the week and just see how you feel not having it. See what happens if you're driven to be having that substance, that food. We call it a substance use disorder now, food use disorder. But if you're driven to have that, then I think there's just very, very simple things. Number one, just be forgiving and accepting of yourself. That's fine. Everything's got to be done with love. But I would say the first step is see if you can cut it down. If you can't, then you probably need a little bit of help. But there could be things like, you know, if you're craving that, have you eaten properly? Are you eating 3 nice meals a day? Because I always think that's really important. Have you not eaten? It's like, you know, a friend of mine rang me up yesterday, goes, oh my God, I've just had, you know, 5 cupcakes from Gail's Bakery.
Oh, Gail's.
Said, well,
I miss London.
Know. And I said, did you eat before you went out and everything else? And she went, no. So I always think when you go shopping, you know, before you do, have something really healthy to eat. Have a plan of eating, you know, so 3 times a day. You know, I do not believe in restricting. So there's less likelihood of you craving whatever, those M&Ms, for instance. So it's kind of looking back at what is making you pick that up all the time. And it could be just it's just the pure chemicals in it, the pure whatever. So it's a neurochemical thing, isn't it? Food addiction. It comes from the biochemical standpoint rather than psychological. So it could be just, you might need to eat something, be just regular eating, and see if that now tails off the cravings for those things.
And did you say you had a group? Is that part of your program? Because I know obviously like in sobriety connection
what I have is no, not yet, and that's what I'm setting up.
Right.
I've done this BC, but I have a group for people who are training to be coaches. So I have a group for them. But yeah, I'm going to be setting them up in the new year.
Right.
Yeah.
And
exciting.
I know it is busy. So you've got that group coming up in the new year, and the book. When's the book gonna come out?
1st of December.
Is it? Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
really soon.
I know, it's exciting. So that's coming out, and I will let you know.
Yeah. And so we always finish with a tip of the day and your reason to love being sober. So what's your tip of the day?
Tip of the day is, I always kind of start saying I am enough. You know, that's the first thing. I'm all right. I'm okay. I am enough. And I'll say that to myself in the mirror. I'm enough. Yeah, there's
Oh, I
everything
love
is
that.
here. That's fine. And what was the second thing?
Your reason to love being sober.
Oh, just one. I actually generally feel just happy, alive, fulfilled. Being with my boys, quality time with my children, and being able to do this.
Yeah.
And have, and not keep going backwards when I was drinking, and everything was halted or destroyed. Being able to create something rather than destroy things.
Oh, I
destroy
love that.
relationships, destroy my dreams. Very much there now.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. It's been brilliant to
You're very
chat.
welcome, Andy. Yeah, it's lovely to see you as well.
Yeah, and yeah, well, we'll chat afterwards. But yeah, if you are interested in Bumni's work, then please do, what's your Instagram handle? What's the
At the Food Addiction Coach.
At the Food Addiction Coach, and then www.thefoodaddictioncoach.co.uk. There we go, got it. And thank you for your work, because it's so needed and it's so so important. It's that permissive addiction, isn't it? It's one of the ones where everyone just overlooks it, and
and I think what happens is, I think the one thing that I would say was my biggest kind of concern about becoming an established food addict is that I could go back to alcohol again. And that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go back down that road, so I had to nip this one.
Yeah.
In the bud.
Yeah. And that's a really really important point as well. Well, thank you. I'm so grateful. And if you're listening to this and you're immediately concerned about your drinking or any other addictive behavior, do reach out. You can email us at info@lovesober.com. If we're not the right people, we can always, we've got I was going to say a Filofax then, but who has one of those? But we have, we know a lot of people, thankfully, in lots of different areas. So we can always, redirect you and signpost the appropriate support. You're not alone, and we're all sort of recovering from something, as She Recovers would say. And we're very blessed, both Bumni and I and Kate, to be She Recovers designated coaches as well.
Totally.
All right, well, we'll see you next week for more chats.
Thank you, Mandy. Take care, everybody. Bye.